Hey everybody, this is Claire, and this is Small Joyful Things. As always, I go to thrift stores, or I go to estate sales, or I sometimes buy things from Craigslist, and I'm looking for things that either make me feel happy or tell me a story. And then I try to find out as much as I can about them and tell you guys about them. And I've got something really cool for you today, so here we go. Sorry, this is kind of noisy. It's quite big. This is you know, it's one of the larger things that I've got. So I'm going to see if I can show it off to you guys. You can see that it's got a very odd shape handle, bigger on one side than it is on the other, and it sits in this dish. Now, just going to measure it up real fast. You can see it's very big. It's about 12.5 inches by, I'm not good at this, 12.5 inches by, let's say 7, I want to say 7.5 at the widest point. It's quite wide. And I just put that to one side for a second. The weird looking little tops. It's going to be about 9.5, 10 inches. Would we say 10 inches? I'm trying to eyeball it here and also look at the camera, and it's kind of difficult. I'm going to say 10. Measuring weirdly shaped objects is interesting. Look, by, let's say 6. And if we're careful, always easy considering my track record of breaking things, it's about 6 inches high. So, come on, there we go. Right. So we do actually have a marking here in the inside, and I'll get to that in a minute. First of all, where did I get this? I got this out of a thrift store. And funnily enough, I found it in 2 pieces. I found this part to start with, the lid of it, and I picked it up, and immediately I thought to myself, this is the top of a cheese plate or a cheese dish, and a very old one at that point. And I grabbed it straight away, and it had a price tag on it of $6 Canadian. And I was looking around going like, well, where's the rest of it? So after wandering around for a bit, I was wandering through the last section, as I'm I like to do, and tucked to the back of a shelf, I found this. And immediately thought, oh, they go together, that's fantastic. And the base had a price of $4 on it. And I was like, okay, $10 is a lot to pay for an antique, but you know, in a thrift store, I generally don't like to pay a whole lot of money, but you know what? I like this, and I'm pretty sure it's an antique. I want to do a video, I want to tell you guys about cheese plates or cheese dishes. So I ended up going up to the counter and I checked out, and I ended up not paying $10 altogether because the cashier basically picked up the lid, put it to one side, turned over the plate, scanned the barcode on the plate, and then never looked at the lid. So apart from that, so did I buy this for $4? No, I also had a coupon. I got this for $3. And anyway, I really wanted to get it just to show to you guys because it's a cheese dish, and this is like something that's like, I only know about that these existed because I was watching a video by Dr. Laurie Verderami, and she was talking about cheese dishes. Now, before they had refrigerators, you know, to keep kind of cold dairy and all that kind of thing, like they wanted some place where they could put the cheese to stop it from getting moldy and kind of keep it as cold as they can. And they had these, and you know, they would put your cheese there, or your butter or whatever, and you literally just cover it up, and there you go. And that was kind of the next best thing. If you didn't have a refrigerator to keep something cold, well, you know, have a covered dish instead. And yeah, now they made cheese dishes from about the mid-19th century up to about the 1920s, 1930s, and maybe a little bit after that. I did have a suspicion this might have been from sometime later. Maybe it was a part of a tableware set. Maybe it was from the 1970s, or, you know, just kind of a reproduction of a vintage piece. But after I did the research, I was so happy to find out that this is an actual real antique. And now we can get into it. So one thing that I found out, well, that I thought about as well, is that these little spots here is something that I very closely associate with very, very old ceramics. I don't know if it's obvious on the video. If I hold this up, you can see that it has quite a bit of crazing, and you can just about see the lines. You can see that it has quite a bit of crazing on it. Not like, it's a bit more, yeah, there you go. It's a bit more obvious there. Like, I'm sure that when this was first made, it would have been absolutely beautiful. But it has definitely been through the, like the lid at least has definitely been through the wars. And very much in the case where it's got the damage here, which has actually gone all the way through. Like, this is old. So what is the story? Where does this actually come from? For that, we got to go to the mark. So I'm going to hold it up and the light, and hopefully you'll be able to see it. I'm going to just... Oh god, this is so tricky. Okay, I think that's probably the best that I can do. You can see it says Vernal Ware, Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire, England. Now, that's fantastic because Staffordshire, like so if you know your pottery, okay, you know the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire, whenever, is basically this area of England which is famous for its pottery and ceramics, and it is specifically called the Potteries. And it's like this group of small towns all together that were like just chock-a-block with pottery works. So this is definitely from one of the Staffordshire pottery works. Now we've got to ask the question, which one? And if you do a Google search for Vernal Ware, just to be clear, you get absolutely nothing. There is no company called Vernal Ware. There's no record of any such company, right? That's not what this is. And the clue is in the actual mark. You see that it says, well, it's probably hard to tell here. I'm going to try and do my best to kind of get it to focus. It says Bros, B-R-O-S, and a star, and that little thing in the middle could be a C or G, and it turns out it's a G. So this was made by, if I get the name again, the Grimwade Brothers. I have this site here called thepotteries.org. Anytime I want to reference any of the potteries from Staffordshire and like in this specific area around this particular time or whatever, they are the best reference. They have an A to Z, as far as I know, of every company that would have been in operation. And the Grimwade Brothers is one of the early ones. This ran from 1885 to 1900. Now, if we take a look down here, there's a mark that looks very, very, familiar. So now we actually have a date on it. This is the printed G Bros mark in star with a circular band with the crown above, 1891 to 1900. And I think that's a very good match for what we've got here. Now, despite the fact that unfortunately it's faded in here, and I got to talk about this as well. You know, I'm always going on about, like, don't put your antiques in the dishwasher. This has definitely been through the dishwasher. I can tell just from touching the surface of it that it has taken a bit of a beating. And it seems that the lid specifically has been through the dishwasher, the dish itself not so much. You can see that the paint and the pattern here has kind of survived a little bit better on this. On the lid, it's practically worn off. And yeah, I mean, you can see the edge there. This has been used quite a bit. I mean, it's not bad for something that's over 120 years old. The fact that it has no chips or cracks, apart from the crazing, the only damage to it really is the fact that the pattern has been quite, has been worn quite badly. Which, to be honest, it still looks nice. Which is, again, it's doing pretty well. There is I found a few little spots of discoloration here. I suspect that maybe kids have gone at some point. I haven't been able to get that off, unfortunately. But, when you're dealing with very old stuff, this should be, part of the deal. But yeah, the reason that the mark looks the way that it does, why it seems so faded as opposed to the one that's here, I believe is because this has been through the dishwasher. It's just the dishwasher damage has destroyed part of the mark. So anyway, what do we actually know about the Grimwade Brothers? It turns out we actually got quite a bit. So it would have been founded by Leonard Lumsden Grimwade, and he was joined by his brother, Sidney Richard Grimwade, and the two of them became, obviously, the Grimwade Brothers. And they transformed into Grimwade Limited, Winton. and that was been another one of their pottery works. This one is specifically made in the Stoke-on-Trent works, obviously. But the really interesting thing about the Grimwade Brothers and Grimwade Limited is that they became Royal Winton. And if you know kind of high-end ceramics, you will definitely know Royal Winton. They were most famous for doing chintz patterns. A lot of their stuff sold for, you know, utterly silly amounts of money. And there's an entire story here, which I'm going to link in the description, that tells you a lot about the actual history of Royal Winton and where it came from. And basically, the Grimwade Brothers, kind of around 1900, became Grimwade Limited. And then in 1913, King George V and Queen Mary visited the potteries, touring numerous factories. But they basically let the Grimwades use the word royal as a prefix for one of their patterns, Royal Winton, and that became the name of the company after that point. And it says here, Queen Mary happily purchased a Winton tea set in the new Queen Mary chintz. In time, Royal Winton was regarded as the Rolls Royce of chintz. Chintz, by the way, if you've never seen it, is it's basically like this. If someone had just put nothing but flowers in, it's no white, literally nothing but flowers. There's a lot going on. I think I kind of prefer this a bit more. But this is really exciting. This is like basically before the company that became Royal Winton basically made this before all of that, before like they really, you know, before they got like the royal decree or the royal assent, whatever it's called. They made this little thing, and somehow it has survived. It has survived and has made its way to me. I'm quite happy about it. And it's been really awesome just to look through this, to learn about the history of it. By the way, the guy who founded this, Leonard Grimwade, says here, in 1931, he died in a car accident, failing to avoid a bus at a crossroads. I love this detail. He died as he lived, at full throttle. That's just really lovely. I find it so interesting, especially for a man that basically kind of was considered like a pioneer of pottery and created Royal Winton and the chintz patterns, and, you know, did so many great things. Yeah, he lived at full throttle. So anyway, the big question: what am I going to do with this, and how much is it actually worth? I am not going to keep it because obviously I have a refrigerator. This is the kind of thing that would probably work very well nowadays in a kind of cottage chic or farmhouse chic kind of thing. It's got natural wear to it, but simply because it's very, very old. You know, a lot of the time you'd like pay top dollar for this kind of stuff, and it would be, you know, stuff that looks kind of it's effectively artificially aged. This one though is the real deal. As to what it's actually worth, well, it begs the question. If we go to, here we go. So if we actually go and take a look at eBay, and obviously all my prices are in Canadian dollars, there is a very small amount of Grimwade Brothers stuff up for sale. A lot of it's coming from basically the United Kingdom. Shipping is absolutely ridiculous, and prices like vary a lot. And it's not that it's there, it's just that like the patterns are, basically this is so old, it's kind of hard to get the patterns, and a lot of time people who collect this, we're going to be looking for a specific pattern. So as to what this is actually worth, it's very hard to kind of estimate, because it could, you know, it has value because it's so old. But if we just take a look at sold items, this is all we've got for the Grimwade Brothers, just basically a plate and, you know, a set of porcelain. Not a whole lot, unfortunately. Like, considering the amount that's there, the sell-through on it is very little. You can see there, like, there's an oven serving dish for like $15, plus shipping, obviously, which is ridiculous from the United Kingdom. So, I mean, I'm gonna put it up on eBay. We'll see what it goes for. Who knows, really. I'm still very glad that I found it, and I got to find out the history, effectively, of where something like this had come from, like all the way from England. So now it turns up in Vancouver, BC, and it's, you know, still here. So I know it's not quite small, but here's my joyful thing for the day. Thanks very much for watching, guys.